Let's talk about burnout. I think we've all felt it at some point. You might even be up against that wall right now. When you think of burnout, you might envision someone who's overworked, exhausted. Maybe they're lying on the couch and staring blankly at the ceiling. But burnout in parenting can actually look a little bit different. It's not always loud or dramatic like a montage in a movie. It's subtle. Sometimes it's just realizing you've been snapping at your kids for days and don't even know why, or that you haven't laughed in a while, or that the idea of having one more conversation, even a short one, just feels impossible. I've been there. There was a season not long ago when I kept telling myself, I'm just tired and things will calm down soon, but they didn't. And eventually I realized that what I was feeling wasn't just exhaustion. It was disconnection from my kids, from my husband, my support system. But really it all stemmed from the fact that I was disconnected from myself. I had been giving and showing up and managing for so long that I had lost touch with my own center. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Not just burnout as a single thing, but as something that shows up in many different ways. Because burnout isn't only physical. It's mental, it's emotional, it's social, it's spiritual, and it even shows up as this quiet sense of disconnection from yourself. And here's what's interesting. A lot of us don't realize we're burned out until we're already deep in it. We think we're just being impatient or ungrateful, or even that we're bad parents. But what's really happening is that our minds and our bodies and our hearts are trying to tell us you have gone too long without being refilled. So today we're going to slow down together. We're going to name the 5 types of burnout that show up in parenting and a bonus 6th one that I'm calling reconnection burnout. That strange fatigue that comes after you start doing the work of healing and growth. And then we'll walk through just a few grounded and practical ways to start coming back to a more productive and fulfilling place, but more importantly, how you can come back to yourself. It's not a to-do list, just a few gentle steps back toward clarity and peace and presence. Okay, so settle into your drive or your laundry or whatever it is that you're up to today, and let's talk about burnout, what it really is, how it sneaks up on us, and what it might be trying to teach us. Okay? You've probably heard people describe burnout as being run down or emotionally drained. But in parenting, burnout isn't just about being tired. It's about being completely depleted. It's what happens when you've been pouring from your cup for so long that there's nothing left to give, not even to yourself. Now, the tricky thing about parenting burnout is that it doesn't always look like you think it will. It's not always crying on the kitchen floor, although it can be that. Sometimes it looks like numbness, like you're just going through the motions, doing what needs to be done, but feeling disconnected from it all. Sometimes it looks like irritation. Everything and everyone feels a little too loud, a little too demanding. And sometimes it's that quiet hopelessness that whispers, it's always going to be like this, nothing's ever going to change. Part of why burnout hits parents so hard is because there is no off switch. You don't get to clock out from being a parent. Even when your body gets to rest, your mind doesn't. You're running through tomorrow's schedule, replaying an argument, wondering if you handled that meltdown the right way, and that constant mental load, the invisible work of holding everyone else's needs in your head, can slowly wear down your capacity. Then there's the emotional labor, holding space for other people's feelings all day long. Kids don't have emotional regulation yet, so they borrow ours. And when we are running on empty, that borrowing can start to feel like theft. We get resentful or short or emotionally unavailable. Then we feel guilty for reacting that way. It is such a painful loop. And culturally, we are not set up very well to prevent burnout. Parents, especially mothers, are often praised for self-sacrifice. But when we're doing everything and that becomes the expectation, burnout becomes inevitable. Because no human being can sustain that level of output without nourishment and support and rest. Now, here's what I really want you to hear. Burnout is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that your system is trying to protect you, to keep you safe. It's your body and your mind and your spirit all waving that little white flag that says, hey, something here needs to change. When we see burnout not as a weakness, but as a message, something in us shifts. It's our system's way of communicating that we've gone too long without replenishment, and that message is deeply wise. Because burnout doesn't mean you're broken, it means you need a reboot, right? Like with your devices, they freeze or they stop functioning at full capacity. And what do? You don't throw it away. You just restart it, give it a chance to shut down and start again. If you're noticing that you're being short-tempered or distracted or feeling disconnected from the things that used to bring you joy, these are all clues. Not that you're failing, but that your capacity is decreasing. Your tank might just be empty. And the truth is, burnout doesn't show up in the same way for everyone. For some of us, we feel it in our bodies through tension or headaches or constant fatigue. Some of us feel it emotionally through numbness or irritability. Others feel it more spiritually, like a loss of purpose or meaning, which is why I want to walk you through those 5 main types of burnout that I see in parenting. Each one shows up a little bit differently. Each one tells a slightly different story about what part of you is running on empty. And once we understand where the depletion is happening, we can start to restore it in a way that honors where and who you are. So let's start with the first one. I'm going to talk about mental burnout. This is where a lot of us feel it first, in our minds. Mental burnout often shows up as that constant foggy feeling, like you're moving through the day on autopilot, but you can't really focus on any one thing. You might find yourself rereading the same sentence 3 or 4 times, forgetting what you walked into a room for, or sitting down at night and realizing you didn't actually experience most of your day. You just managed it. It's the kind of burnout that sounds like, I just can't think straight, or I cannot handle one more thing, or I just need everyone to stop talking for 5 minutes. Okay, does that sound familiar? In parenting, mental burnout often comes from that invisible weight that we carry, that mental load. It's keeping track of the laundry, the lunches, the appointments, the school events, the emotional climate of the house, and the current location of every single thing, all while we're trying to function as a whole person. And the thing is, most of it, it's not written down anywhere. It just lives in your brain, taking up space and demanding energy. So it's not that you're bad at focusing, it's that your mind is just overloaded. We call that cognitive fatigue, the state that your brain goes into when it's been asked to problem solve and organize and anticipate for too long without rest or reprieve. And when that happens, your mind starts to protect itself by zoning out. It's not failing you, it's conserving energy. It's saying, there's too much here. I need to shut down something for just a little bit. You might notice yourself scrolling more, multitasking to the point of chaos, or avoiding simple tasks that used to be easy. It's often labeled as laziness, but really it's mental burnout. And the truth is, when our minds are full, there's no room for curiosity or playfulness or presence, all of these expansive things that actually help us connect with others, especially our kids. So even though it might sound counterintuitive, the first step toward healing mental burnout isn't to do more, it's to do less and to simplify. So I want to tell you a few ways that you can start to release some of that mental clutter. So first, simplify your decisions. Create small systems that take the thinking out of your routine tasks, like having a weekly meal rotation or a set laundry day. The goal isn't rigidity, right? It still can be a little bit flexible, but it's about reducing the number of micro decisions your brain has to make every single day. Second, you can pause the multitasking. Even though it feels efficient, it's actually draining more energy. So try focusing on just one thing at a time. And third, find moments of mental quiet. Not necessarily meditation, but silence. Walk without listening to a podcast. Drive without the radio. Cook dinner without the TV on. Let your brain rest from the constant stream of input. And if you can, build in mental white space throughout your week. This is time when nothing is expected of you. No planning, no productivity, no multitasking, just being. Because your mind isn't a machine. It's a living part of you that needs stillness and play and recovery. When you give it that, you're not being lazy. You're creating space for that clarity to return. So if you're feeling foggy or distracted or just mentally done, this might be where your burnout lives right now, and that's okay. All right, next is spiritual burnout. And this can be one of the hardest to recognize and one of the most painful when you do. It's that quiet, heavy feeling of disconnection, like you're untethered. It's a loss of meaning, a loss of faith, not just in a religious sense, but in the deep trust that what you're doing matters. It can sound like I'm doing everything right, but I still feel empty. Or I can't remember the last time I felt inspired. Or even, I don't know who I am anymore beyond my role as a parent. For some people, this burnout shows up as disconnection from God or a higher power. Maybe you used to find comfort in prayer or meditation or community, but now it feels distant or mechanical or even irritating. You might feel unworthy or cynical or resistant to the things that used to give you peace. And for some, it's more about the loss of purpose. Okay, you're doing all the right things. You're showing up, you're caring, you're providing, but it doesn't feel connected to something deeper. Like you've been running on autopilot for so long that you can't quite remember why anymore. All right, that is spiritual burnout. It's what happens when your inner world no longer feels aligned with the life that you're living. In parenting, this can be especially disorienting because raising children is often framed as the most meaningful work you can do. And while that's true, it can also be incredibly isolating. You might be giving endlessly, pouring into everyone around you, but feeling invisible in your own story. And when you start to feel unseen or spiritually dry, shame can creep in. How can I feel this empty when I have so much to be grateful for? If you've ever thought that, you're not alone. Spiritual burnout doesn't mean you've lost your faith, your values, or your love for your family. It just means that you've lost that connection to yourself, to your purpose, to whatever makes your life feel sacred. So how do we begin to come back from that kind of disconnection? Well, we start small. We start with presence, okay? Create simple rituals of meaning. Pray, read, meditate, whisper a word of gratitude before bed. They're not grand gestures, they're just moments of reconnection. Another thing you can do is to seek awe. We underestimate how healing wonder can be. Look at the sky, listen to your kids laughing. Let something small really move you. That is spiritual nourishment. And third, give yourself permission to doubt and to rest. Your faith in life, in love, in goodness, in God doesn't have to be strong every day. Sometimes resting your faith is part of renewing it. Spiritual burnout heals through quiet, through belonging, through remembering that your worth was never something you had to earn. So if you're feeling that disconnection from your faith, your community, your sense of meaning, let this be a reminder to you. You haven't lost the light. You might just be facing in the wrong direction. Now let's explore emotional burnout, which is the kind of exhaustion that lives deep inside you. It's not just about being tired, it's about feeling worn thin. Like you've reached the end of your emotional rope, and even the simplest request or minor frustration feels like too much. It can look like irritability, like cynicism, like emotional flatness, like you love your kids deeply, but you can't quite feel that love in the moment or find access to it. It can also look like tears that come out of nowhere or anger that feels bigger than the situation deserves. You might find yourself thinking things like, why am I reacting like this? Or what's wrong with me? I used to be so patient. The truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just out of emotional capacity. Parenting demands an enormous amount of emotional labor. You're constantly tuning into other people's moods, calming big feelings, mediating conflicts, showing empathy, teaching emotional skills, and somewhere along the way, your own feelings get pushed to the side. You tell yourself, I'll deal with this later, but later never really comes. So your body starts holding on to what you don't have time to process. And over time, you guessed it, it turns into burnout. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've been emotionally generous for too long without replenishment. You can think of it like this. Every time you tend to someone else's emotions, it costs you just a little bit of energy. That's normal. If you never refill, if you never give yourself permission to feel or release or be cared for, that account eventually runs completely empty. And when it does, you might notice that you feel numb, even in happy moments. You're less tolerant, more sensitive, more reactive. You don't want to talk, even with people that you love. You crave quiet, not because you dislike anyone, but because you need a break from feeling. The first step toward healing emotional burnout is allowing yourself to feel again, without judgment. Now, that might sound simple, but for many of us, it's actually incredibly hard. We have learned so efficiently to push our emotions aside so that we can keep going. So reclaiming your feelings can feel messy at first, even a little bit scary. So here's a few gentle ways for you to begin. First, give your emotions a safe outlet. That might be journaling or voice memos or therapy, or even a walk where you just let yourself think and breathe. Let your thoughts move through you instead of sitting in you. Okay? You can also let yourself cry or release tension. Crying isn't weakness. It's just your nervous system discharging. If crying isn't your thing, maybe your thing is exercise or driving alone or screaming into a pillow. Anger and sadness and frustration, they all need somewhere to go. And third, you can find just that one person you can be honest with. Someone who won't try to fix it, who won't judge it, they'll just witness it. Sometimes being seen in that realness is the most healing thing of all. And finally, try to bring compassion to yourself in the moments when you feel least deserving of it. That's often when we need it the most. The fourth type of burnout is social. Now, social burnout can sneak up on you, and it's one we don't think about very often. It's when you start to feel apathetic or disconnected toward your friends, your partner, your community, but you can't quite put your finger on why. Maybe you don't feel like texting anyone back, or maybe you find yourself dreading the plans that you used to look forward to. Maybe you scroll through social media and feel jealous or irritated or just empty. It's that feeling of, I want to be alone, but also I don't want to be lonely. Parenting social burnout happens for a lot of reasons. One is just simple overstimulation. Our senses are constantly bombarded. Noise, movement, touch, questions. It's a lot. So when the day finally ends, even if someone invites you to do something kind or fun, your whole body says, oh, no more input, please. But social burnout can also come from underconnection, right? From not having enough relationship that truly nourishes you. You might be surrounded by people, but not really seen by anyone. You might spend your days in endless conversations with little people who need you, but rarely have an adult conversation that fills you back up. Or one of the phrases that I love to use a lot, you might feel overtouched, but underfelt. I think for a lot of parents, social burnout is that lonely feeling in a crowded house. You love your family, you're grateful for them, and yet there's that part of you that's quietly starving for adult connection, for someone to ask how you're doing, and then actually wait for the answer. Here's what makes this one so complicated. When we're socially burned out, our first instinct is often just pull away. We isolate to protect ourselves, to create quiet, to avoid one more demand. But isolation also deepens the loneliness, which in turn feeds the burnout. And it's a loop that's kind of hard to break. So the way back isn't necessarily to throw yourself into social plans, it's to reconnect intentionally, not with everyone, but with your people, the ones who feel safe and grounding and real. So here's a few ways to start that reconnection process gently. All right, first, you can lower the bar for connection. It doesn't have to be dinner or a big social event. Sometimes just a 5-minute voice memo back and forth with a friend or a walk with someone can do more for your nervous system than an entire night out. Okay? Be honest about your capacity. You can say, I miss you, but I just don't have that much energy right now. Can we do something simple? True friendships can hold that truth without judgment. Okay? And curate your social inputs. If certain relationships or online spaces leave you feeling drained or inadequate, it's okay to step back. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's very, very wise. Rebuilding connection doesn't have to mean being social all the time. It means finding the people and the spaces that help you feel like yourself again. So if you've been feeling lonely, irritable, withdrawn, that's your cue. You don't need to push harder to be social. You just need to find one small way to reconnect with the kind of connection that feels nourishing and not draining. So if emotional burnout shows up in your heart and social burnout shows up in your relationships, then it's physical burnout that shows up in your body. And usually it's been whispering to you for a while. So let's talk about physical burnout. It starts small. Maybe you're tired all the time, even after a full night's sleep. Or your shoulders ache, or your jaw is tight, or you have that dull headache that just won't go away. You notice you're more irritable or hungrier than usual, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you're too exhausted to eat. You reach for caffeine to wake up, and you scroll to wind down, but none of it is actually restoring you. That is physical burnout. It's your body saying, I've been holding everyone together, and I can't keep doing it like this. In parenting, physical burnout can look like being on autopilot. You're doing all the right things. You're packing lunches, managing work, shuttling kids, keeping the house running, but your body feels heavy and sluggish and disconnected. There's no sense of vitality or of ease, just a kind of survival mode that's become your baseline. I want to say this very clearly. Your body is not betraying you. It's protecting you. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do under prolonged stress. It's conserving energy, numbing sensations, and shutting down what feels non-essential. The problem is when that becomes chronic, you lose access to the joy and creativity and presence that we all need so much. Here's what I often tell my clients. You can't think your way out of physical burnout. You have to feel your way out. That means coming back into relationship with your body, slowly and kindly, without judgment. It's less about fixing the exhaustion and more about listening to what is it asking for. So here's a few ways to begin that. You have to start with your basic needs. When you're burned out, you focus on self-maintenance, nourishment, hydration, movement, and rest. Ask yourself, have I eaten something nourishing today? Have I had water? Have I stepped outside for sunlight? The simplest things are often the most healing. Okay, you have to notice your body's signals. Where are you feeling the tension, the numbness? What part of you feels heavy or overworked? Instead of judging those sensations, just thank your body for carrying you through. Gratitude begins to rebuild connection. And the next one is rest without guilt. This one is hard, especially for parents. We've been conditioned to believe that rest is earned, that we have to deserve it. But rest is not a reward. It is a requirement for your nervous system to regulate and to heal. Physical burnout is not weakness. It's evidence that you've been doing too much for too long without enough support. It's your body saying, I need you to care for me the way that you care for everybody else. So if you've been pushing through the fatigue or ignoring those aches and pains or feeling like you're running on fumes, this is your invitation to stop pushing and just listen. Your body isn't the obstacle. It's the way back. So next, we're going to talk about one more kind of burnout that often goes unnoticed, even among those who are doing the deep healing work. It's what I call reconnection burnout. The exhaustion that sets in when you've been trying so hard to grow and heal and do the work that even that starts to feel like too much. You've been reading, reflecting, maybe you're going to therapy, learning about your triggers, your attachment style, your nervous system. You're trying to parent consciously, to break old patterns, to respond instead of react. And somewhere in the middle of all that awareness and all of that effort, you hit a wall. You start to think things like, oh, I thought I was further along than this. Or, oh, why am I still reacting this way? I know what I should do, but I can't seem to do it. And that inner voice that used to be compassionate suddenly turns harsh again, like all of your progress has evaporated overnight. That is reconnection burnout. It's what happens when growth and healing themselves become another sort of pressure. When we try so hard to be better parents that we forget to enjoy the everyday human parts of parenting. Here's the thing. Healing isn't a straight line upward. It's a cycle. There are seasons of breakthrough and seasons of depletion, times when all the awareness you've built just feels heavy. That doesn't mean you've lost your progress. It means your system is asking for rest and integration. So I like to think of it this way. Every time we heal a layer, our nervous system needs time to reorganize around that new level of safety. It's like when you're cleaning out a closet. It often looks messier before it looks better. Reconnection burnout is that messy middle part. You might notice it as emotional fatigue. You don't want to read another parenting book or listen to another podcast, maybe except for this one. You can't journal one more insight. You just want to be. That's not regression. It's your system saying, enough input for now. Let's just rest and integrate. So here's what helps when you're in that space. Shift from doing to being. So give yourself permission to stop consuming new information. Instead, just practice noticing. Notice how far you've come, what feels easier now, what no longer triggers you as deeply. Okay? Next, you need to let good enough be good enough. You don't have to be the healed version of yourself to be a good parent. I say this all the time, but your children need your presence, not your perfection. Also need to reconnect through rest and joy. Healing doesn't always happen in the deep work. Sometimes it happens when you laugh, when you play, and when you just let yourself be ordinary again. Reconnection burnout isn't a failure of growth. It's a symptom of it. It means you've been opening and expanding and doing this brave work, and now your system is asking for some balance. So if you've hit that wall where healing feels like hard labor, then pause. You're just tired, and rest is part of the healing. So if you've been listening and realizing, oh, wow, I think I'm burned out in more than one of these areas, you're not alone. Burnout is not a reflection of your failure. It's a reflection of your effort. It's what happens when care and responsibility and love have outpaced rest and support and renewal. So let's talk about how to begin finding your way back, not in a fix yourself kind of a way, but in a coming home to yourself kind of a way. Okay. So first, establish healthy boundaries. Guys, boundaries are one of the most loving things you can give to yourself and your family. They're not walls, they're doorways that help you to protect what matters most. A boundary might sound like, I can't talk about that right now, I need some time. Or I'm not available for playdates on the weekends. On weekends, we rest. Boundaries communicate your limits before your resentment does. Okay, so every time you honor a boundary, you're actually teaching your nervous system, I'm safe to rest, I'm safe to say no, and I'm safe to take care of myself. All right. Second, seek support. Parenting was never meant to be done in isolation, and yet so many of us are trying to do it alone. Support can look like therapy or coaching, faith community, even just one friend that you can text honestly. It can also look like letting your partner or co-parent step in more or asking for help before you're at your breaking point. Support isn't weakness. It's a return to the truth that we heal in togetherness, not in isolation. So if you've been holding it all together, just pause and let someone else hold you. Third, practice self-maintenance and self-care. These two sound similar, but they're different, and we need them both. We really dig into this reframe in episode 25, so I encourage you to go back and listen to that one if you haven't already. But essentially, self-maintenance is the daily practical stuff that keeps you functional. It's eating and sleeping and moving your body, what keeping your routines manageable. It's just what keeps you steady. And self-care is what brings you back to life. It's this soul-level nourishment, creativity and beauty, laughter, music, time in nature, spiritual connection. You can't always bubble bath your way out of burnout, but you also can't heal without beauty. The balance of both is where restoration begins. Okay, fourth, I want you to take a break, and I mean a real break. One where you're not catching up on housework or secretly still doing productive rest. Burnout recovery requires stepping away from the roles that deplete you long enough to remember who you are without them. Even just a few minutes of unstructured time with no noise and no expectations can help your nervous system reset. All right. And last, focus on learning. Sometimes the best way out of burnout is curiosity. Not how do I fix this, but what is this trying to tell me or show me? Every kind of burnout we have talked about, mental, emotional, physical, social, spiritual, reconnection, they all carry wisdom. It's your system saying something here needs tending. If you can listen with compassion instead of criticism, burnout can actually become a doorway, a chance to reevaluate your pace, your priorities, and your patterns. The truth is, most of us don't realize we're burning out until we've already gotten there. By the time we notice, we are in full collapse, snapping at everyone, numb to joy, and exhausted to our bones. But burnout doesn't actually start as fire. It starts as smoke. Your body and mind are whispering long before they start to shout. Catching burnout early means practicing awareness before urgency. It means noticing when your patience is thinner, when you're numbing instead of nurturing, when you start to feel resentful of things you used to enjoy. And instead of pushing through, it means pausing and asking, what do I need right now that I've been ignoring? You don't have to wait until everything falls apart to begin again. Noticing the smoke is enough to change the story. So I want to close with this. Parenting burnout doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing it all, and it's time to recalibrate. There's no prize for running yourself into the ground, but there is peace on the other side of permission. Permission to rest, permission to need help, permission to be an imperfect and tired and healing parent. If you can start there with kindness and truth, the rest, I promise, will follow. Thank you for being here with me today, for your courage to look honestly at the places that feel stretched thin, and for the work you're doing quietly every day to show up for your family and for yourself. I would appreciate it so much if you would take a moment to follow me here at the Parenting Lab, and please post a positive review if you're finding value in what we're learning here together each week. Have an amazing week, and I will see you again next time as we continue to explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Take care, everyone.